I've searched high and low for my place in this world. And at age 36, I thought I'd find it here at a fertility clinic. You see, maybe creating a life, that was like my ultimate ticket in to feeling like I belonged, to feeling like I was normal, to feeling like I was doing right in this world by becoming a mother. And so I welcomed the fertility clinic visits day in and day out, morning after every morning, see whether or not I was fertile. And 4 weeks of this passed by, and finally the doctor gives us the green light. She hands me a cocktail full of meds and artificial hormones, and she says to me, "Go forth and procreate." And so my husband and I do the best we can that weekend. And it will take us 2 weeks to figure out whether or not we've been successful. 2 weeks. What could possibly go wrong in 2 weeks except everything does go wrong? Maybe it was the artificial hormones or something beyond my control, but the chemistry in my brain begins to switch and the thoughts and moods begin to falter. You see, I was diagnosed once with borderline personality disorder and depression. And although I've been in remission for about a year, the symptoms quickly flooded back in. The thoughts were disturbing. I'd look down at subway tracks for salvation, and I'd look up to the beams to see whether or not they'd hold my weight. I knew I was clinically depressed, but I didn't know I was actively suicidal. And so I did the next best thing, the most rational thing I could possibly think of. I checked myself into the partial hospitalization program. It is there I meet Kristen, a social worker. We've been working a couple days now to figure out what's been going on. We both know what's at stake here. Pregnant, I have 9 more months to figure this all out. I promised her that. But not pregnant, I was running out of time. And one day we get a phone call on the cell phone, and it's the fertility clinic. The nurse on the other end of the line, she says, "Amanda, I'm sorry, but the pregnancy results came back negative." And I hang up the phone and I look long, forlorn way. And I say to Kristen, how foolish I have been to think that a baby would save my life, would save me from myself. How foolish. And Kristen says to me, she says, "Amanda, it's okay to be foolish. It's okay to have your heart break. Maybe you wanted this more than you thought you believed to have it. And I'm heartbroken too. But most of all, I'm worried about you. I can't let you go home tonight. We have to admit you into the inpatient unit." And she is right to be worried. And I don't fight her. I allow things to happen. And I stay the night at the psychiatric emergency room with my scrubs and a journal to keep me company. And the following day, I'm wheeled up to the 11th floor of the hospital, and it is there where the 2 doctors meet me for intake. This one psychiatrist with the beard and the glasses, he says to me, "What's in your journal?" And I say to him, "Well, I kind of know what you're asking for. You're asking for my goodbye letters." And I read them one by one out loud until I get to my parents, where I say how much I wish just to make you proud and how sorry I am that I'm a big disappointment. I really wish I could do right by you guys, but maybe I'm not meant for this world. And tears start to fall down my cheeks and my nails start to dig deep into my palms. I shake uncontrollably, and I realize, or I think to myself, I'm like dying here. I'm sick, and maybe this is like a fatal disease that I have. And so I say to them, I want to live. It's just, I know I'm dying. And the 2 psychiatrists, they look at each other, and finally one says to me, "So you want to live?" I said, "Didn't you hear me? I'm dying here, but a small crack, a little light opens into this big abyss that I was living in, and I realized I did want to live. I just didn't know how. And so I spent the next 4 weeks in the hospital learning how to live again, learning to live with my sadness and my confusion and my pain and even my hopes and my dreams. And as the medication starts to kick in, I too become transparent to the doctors and I talk more to them. As winter turns into spring and I could see from through the double pane windows, the buds begin to bloom, I too realize that I can begin again. As I complete my stint at the psychiatric hospital, I do begin again. And I think maybe, having a baby is not in our cards, and I no longer go to the fertility clinic. I quit my job of 11 years and go back to school. I have a new psychiatrist, but most of all, I have a new therapist, who understands me, who sees me for who I am, even though I cannot see myself. And so I start to relax into that person she sees in me. And a year passes by, and unbeknownst to me and my husband, we become pregnant. Little Quentin is born 2 months early, eager to see his parents. And as he grows and watches and comes towards me, and I watch him embrace me and hug me with all his might, I realize that my son did not save me. He allowed me to see myself and embrace myself for who I am. Because I have to love him, I've learned to love myself because he teaches me that every day. Thank you.